Welcome to Creative Bias, the podcast full of ideas and inspo to help you develop your own creativity for personal and professional application. I'm Steve Bonner, and she is
Literally.
Let's Get Creative.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good. End of the weekend. Rounding up. How was your week?
I had a very interesting week and a very interesting weekend. This weekend was my daughter's birthday
Yes,
weekend
Quinn. Happy
observation.
birthday.
She's 10 now, so my wife and I have officially made it a decade as parents, and it was
Wow.
touch and go for a minute there, but, I think we've
Big
done it.
milestone. Yeah.
But other than that, earlier this week, I was in Chicago
Right.
because there was a creative bias engagement at an agency that a friend of mine works for, and she asked me to come in and say some words at their annual kickoff event, and then also do a little bit of a coaching, like live in the moment coaching session for members of their three departments. So it's an agency with a creative department, client service, and production. And it was very nice of her to invite me in. And it was incredibly gratifying to sort of spread the word of creative bias and give them a space to say what they need from each other, to tell each other what the hardest part of their job was, to commit to each other what more they had to give. And I just found the whole thing so fulfilling, but then also like validating of what it is we do at Creative Bias to get like in the moment feedback from
Mm.
everybody who was in the room was just like, that was so good. Somebody actually referred to me as the business therapist, and I had to tell, like, I'm not a therapist, but I am a coach. But I thought that it was like, people use the word fulfilling and rewarding like at the drop of a hat, but it really was. Like I walked out of that engagement really feeling like maybe I'd made a difference in people's lives. Maybe I'd given them something that like 10 years from now, they'll still walk around, remembering. Because I made a point to the whole audience. I said, one of the things that I think everyone needs to think about is building a creative career. And when I
Yeah.
say a creative career, I don't mean like I'm going to teach you how to come up with ideas and pitch them and produce, like you guys know how to do that. What I mean when I say a creative career is like a career that is flexible and dynamic enough that it can change with you and change as your circumstances change, because your career should not be the fixed object, right? Like you're the fixed object, and your career
Right.
needs to serve you and orbit around you and fulfill you and make you feel like you
Mm.
you get to do stuff that brings you joy and is aligned with your values and also valuable. So it was great.
I 100% know that like things that you said probably are going to live rent free in people's minds forever
In a good
now.
way, rent
Yeah.
controlled. They'll live rent controlled.
Yeah, no, I was honestly, like, so happy to hear about your story.
Yeah, I think it's proud of. I mean, be proud of us, not just proud of me. Like I think like that none of that happens if it isn't this whole body of work that you and I have created together. So it's
Appreciate
both of
you.
us, of course. What
And you
about you? What
shared
was your week? Yeah, go
well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say too, like, you shared a story with me that felt like paralleled what I was going through this past week,
Mm,
and it was around rest, which really got me thinking about creativity and rest in general. Like, it's like this rest is
mm-hmm.
actually like the invisible creative act.
Yeah,
And just for context, I don't know if it was one of the audience members or one of the panelists was talking about maybe a need that was unmet at work
yeah,
where when we pour ourselves into a project, whatever that is, right? Taking it
yeah.
out of the whoever's story this was, but just in general, whenever we
Mm-hmm.
pour ourselves into a project or something that we're creating, we don't necessarily always take the time to plan the rest that is required for that output
For sure.
before and after, not just after, before
Yep.
and after, when we, like, plan for these things or start creating or doing it, and I just feel like when I think about it, all I could think about was, like, an athlete. Like, right now, the Olympics are going on, but
Right.
they spend years, lifetimes, hours of preparation for it, and
Mm-hmm.
also are very diligent about their rest.
Yeah.
And I feel like as creatives, like, we could definitely take a page out of that book or just, like, as people, to be honest,
Mhm.
especially in such a high functioning society. And so
Are we
I was
though?
yeah, well,
How are we functioning as a society? I'm
holy
sorry, go
hell.
ahead.
Who knows? No, no. Where do you think rest lies in terms of quantity, right? Like, is rest equal to the creative act? Is it more
Mm.
important or is it is it the most important?
It's interesting. I think when you look at athletes who like they have to, especially Olympians or NFL players, whatever, like they have to execute at the margins of like what is even possible. Like I was thinking about it, I was watching
Right.
the figure skating guy, the quad god. And never give yourself a nickname, by the way. Like you're just kind of
Especially not
asking
with the
for
word
trouble.
God in.
Yeah. But so I was like, this dude is doing stuff that like maybe nobody else on the entire planet, there's like 8 billion of us, and that he's the only guy who can do this thing as much as he does it. And so for him, like rest has to be incredibly important because if the muscle fibers in his, quads don't fire at a certain rate or what frequency or whatever it is, then he can't do that thing that he does. So in sports, maybe it's different than in artistic fields, or maybe not. I'm like a guitar player or a trumpet player or whatever it is. If you're amazing at your instrument, you're the relationship between your brain and your fingers and your heartbeat and all that stuff, everything's syncing up and rest is important in that too. I also wonder if like rest gets a bad name because I,
Mhm.
I think people think that
Yeah.
we celebrate and hero the grind. Like I was talking to a
Right.
friend of mine about this the other day about like football NFL coaches, like famously are psychopaths who like they sleep in their office and they only get 3 hours of sleep a
Right.
night and they don't
Yeah.
and you're like to draw up football plays like come on, like what are we doing? Why does it have to be like that? And then I think probably that's why people who subscribe to, like, the hustle and the grind end up burning out because they just feel like they're supposed
For
to
sure.
go, 100 miles an hour, 24 hours a day, and you just can't. That's not sustainable. I
No.
also think because I will always equate everything, I'll put it into musical terms, like, why are most first albums the best albums that people ever put out? It's because they
Mm.
have their whole life up until they drop an album to have been thinking about those songs and those tracks and those lyrics and the thing and the. And then as soon as they do that and have success, then the clock starts ticking. Got to get another one out there. Got to write some more songs. And you're like, well, I had 20 years to do the first one. And now I got to
Right.
come up with this one in 3 months. That seems crazy. And like maybe there's
Wow.
not enough rest in that.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about it that way. And I do like for sure point taken on I think up until now glorifying the grind and glorifying the hustle
Mhm.
and I think there's still a lot of remnants of that,
Oh my
especially
God.
with like older generations. It's this idea, the grind, the hustle, all of it is favorable for capitalism in that it turns
Yeah.
humans into machines.
Right.
But I do feel like there's especially, like, in the workplace, you see, like, TikTok videos about it all the time, like, the generational personalities within the workplace and, like, Gen Zs, like,
Mhm.
got really hard and fast boundaries about it, and low key, like, I'm taking a page out of their book. I'm now realizing that I think the quality of the work depends on how you're doing. Like,
Right.
health-wise, and, like, rest the amount of rest needed looks different for everybody,
Yeah.
but, like, I'm realizing now, like, I would say maybe the last 10 days, I've been working really long days, like, not your quote, unquote, "normal" 40-hour week.
9 to 5.
Right, and even at that, like, my body felt it, and I
Yeah.
needed a 4-day weekend to recover, like, fully needed a 4-day weekend to
Well, let me
from
ask you this.
straight work. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How do you define rest?
Literally sleeping
Okay.
and also because I find I think like, again, I think this is very individual to everyone, but, like, for me, when I'm working that hard or I'm stressed because of work, like, my sleep quality is shit, like,
For sure.
completely out the window. So now we're
Totally.
compounding, we're working extra hours and getting less quality sleep. So put those
Mhm.
things together after 10 days feels like 20 days, and that's why you need the time.
I was just gonna say, the reason I asked the question of like, what does rest mean to you is I
Mm.
think rest is different things. And I think, again, this goes
Yeah,
like, people are, everyone's maybe a little bit different. When you're talking about creative, right? When you're talking about like needing to be creative, which everything we all do has a germ of creativity in it. But like when I think back to like when I was at agency, boy, I needed to rest to come up with creative ideas and solutions and whatever. But it wasn't always just being inert. Sometimes it was just shifting my focus to something that was unproductive or shifting my focus to something that was indulgent or shifting my focus to play, which functioned as rest so that I could
sure.
come back and attack whatever the problem was, the thing I was getting paid to solve and come up with creative
Absolutely.
ideas. So yeah, so I think it's rest and then it's also diet. Like you have to feed your creativity.
I was just gonna say, the reason why that counts as rest is because you're pouring back into your cup, right?
Right.
If you're pouring yourself out into a project, into work, whatever you're pouring your energy out into. So
Yeah.
I guess it's like rest,
Mhm.
recover, restore, because you're literally resting, like sleeping, not doing anything for part of it. But part of it is recovery, just like, when you recover your muscles
To-
after working out a lot.
Right.
And restore is, like, putting that nutrition, that, like, creative energy back
Mhm.
in whatever, like, set up for you, and that's
Right.
absolutely what I did these last 4 days. Had some spa time, got my
There you go.
nails done,
There you go.
spent some time in the
There you go.
sauna, did a
You
cold
got
plunge,
cold plunge and a sauna.
acupuncture. I did all
Look
the
at
things.
you.
Yeah, I
You
did all
did.
like, my body needed it.
And coming so now you're coming out at the other end of that, and
Mhm,
tomorrow is
back
back
to
to the
work.
grind. Or do you feel more prepared? Do you feel more ready? Do you feel energized? Like, what is that? What is the net impact of the rest?
Yes, I feel like I've been detoxing a lot, so my energy's been weird this weekend. Like, I've been taking a lot of naps, but I do feel like going back to work tomorrow is work, and
Mhm.
I have enough in the tank right now to do that. Whereas, like, I
Yeah.
think towards the end of, like, a long sprint like that, you're kinda, like, running low on steam and you feel it, you know?
Yeah, and what I find interesting about that, and what I find interesting about concepts like Sunday scaries and all of that is like I just think we do work wrong. Because
Mhm.
wouldn't it be better if like that if Sunday scaries was something that most people didn't even like why I don't understand that because my
Mhm.
work, thing I do for work, I know how to do it. I'm
Mhm.
like I'm not scared of the problems because I can probably solve them. Maybe I get them wrong, but like it brings me energy. Like, I
Yeah.
find my job to be energizing, and I find for a lot of people that their job is not energizing, it's a vampire, it takes their energy,
Mhm.
and I think it's because a lot of the jobs that people have aren't really well aligned with who they are as people, and I don't know how to solve that, I wish I knew how to solve that, like, on the, like, global human level,
Right.
but just feel like work should be healthier than it is.
Oh, 1,000% There was a version of me, like, I
Yeah,
wanted to be on the go all the time. I wanted to emulate a machine at one point
right,
because I had a goal of, like, climbing a ladder, and that
right.
had value, and that I assigned value to my identity about it.
I think there's another wrinkle to that, and we've got so much stuff to talk about on this episode,
Yeah.
so we can move on, but ego, like,
Mhm.
part of it is, like, the reason people are like, "I want the grind, I want the hustle, I wanna be climbing, I wanna
Attachment
be
to
on a I
productivity.
yeah, like, it's ego. It's like, well, people
Mhm.
think I'm important, so that's why I'm on these planes
Mhm.
every week. I'm flying to New York, I'm flying to LA, I'm flying to like,
Mhm.
I once got sent to Istanbul, like, on 24 hours notice to go to a meeting for 2 hours and go back to the airport and leave. I was like,
Mhm.
"What?" Like, but in the moment, I was like, "Hell yeah, that's hot shit." You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
and so part of me, and part of the reason creative bias exists is that it wasn't so much for me like I need to get off the hamster wheel. It was I need to do work that makes me more feel like I'm adding positivity into the world as opposed to like just checking boxes and, you
For
know,
real.
trying to
Yeah.
impress other people. And so I think like
Purpose-driven
that
work.
yeah, and it's like I kinda even hate to say it because that sounds so but it's fulfilling and it's I think it's just like alignment with values. So yeah,
For
that's
sure.
very interesting. Rest, very important.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for your answer.
Always gotta land the plane. Very smart person told me that who loved to work.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that was like a major part of my weekend. The rest of the weekend, to fill my cup, I guess you could say. I
Mhm.
love movies. I also love
Okay.
spending time with friends, and I had a bachelorette party this weekend.
Nice.
So we saw Wuthering Heights.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've seen the internets. They
I have
have
not seen the film. I have
uh-huh.
read reviews of the movie.
Yes, people have really, really, really big feelings about.
Absolutely.
I, for one, went into it having not read the book. So
Okay.
I had I kept the bar super low. I went for the plot. The plot was hot ass Margot Robbie, hot
Mhm.
ass Jacob Elordi.
Yep.
Let's go. And so for me, it did everything it needed to do.
And I don't know, I haven't seen the movie, but what I heard is it's like a tribute to edging. Like, they basically don't have sex for the longest amount of time, but they're just like
Yeah.
there's this sexual tension. Can you say that on this podcast?
Words I never thought I'd hear you say, Steve.
Oh, stick
As a
around.
I mean, I'm here for the lore. Like,
Sure.
I love anything disruptive when it comes to creativity, whether someone loves it or hates it, like, you made them feel something and you
Yeah.
started a conversation. To me as a creator, like, cool. As long as they're
Mhm.
not saying, like, you're an actual, like, piece of shit person, which I guess some people are.
Right.
I think it begs the question, where do we draw the line with creative liberties? Like,
Mm.
is there a line to be drawn,
Uh-huh. Like,
or what do you
so
think?
are you saying I wanna make sure I understand the question.
Mhm.
Are you saying, like, faithfulness to the source material, or are you saying, like how are you defining creative liberties?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think my take is this: if you're gonna call something the same exact thing as something else that was created by someone else was called,
Mhm.
and you're gonna remake it, it should be clear if it's a remake, like your interpretation of it or how you think of it, or
Right.
you're literally, like, using it as core inspiration, but building your whole new adaptation of it.
Right.
'Cause to me, that's different, and, like, a conversation I had with my friends was, like, if they called it Kathy and Heathcliff, we would have understood where it was coming from, but that it wasn't
Mhm.
gonna be that, and I
Mhm.
think less people would have been upset.
Yes. Well, okay, so I think that a lot of that is marketing, right? Like
For sure.
and a lot of it is weird tribalism in some ways. Okay, so
Mm,
let me try and unpack this. So, I don't know anything about Wuthering Heights. I haven't read it. I know what I know about the movie, which is basically what I just said. I kinda get the feeling that it's like a Bridgerton treatment
mhm.
of a old work of fiction with Margot Robbie and a bunch of good-looking people. I am not precious about, like, it has to be faithful to the source material. Like, when I hear I'm not a Star Wars guy, but I have friends who are Star Wars people, and they get so specific. Well, but it couldn't. This movie shouldn't be that because this guy wasn't in the thing. And I'm like, bro, like,
Mm.
it's just a movie about androids in outer space.
Like, the gag is all of it was made up to begin with.
Hello, or like musically, like one of my favorite songs of all time is a song called "People Get Ready," and it's a cover of a song by Curtis Mayfield that was done
Mhm.
by Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart, and
Love
very different than the original, but also, like,
Mhm.
they're both beautiful, wonderful songs. Like, do I think they should have called it something different because, like, it's such a different musical experience? No, like, it's the
Mm.
same song, it's just done in a much different way, and I think that's fine, and I think in film, you can accomplish a lot of that, like, "This film was inspired by blah, 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 but it is not a faithful blah, blah, blah." That's a title card. Just
Yeah, which I
I
think
ju
she did make clear, to be
Yeah,
fair, like, in, I don't know, media, like,
I think
everyone knew
creative
this wasn't going to be a direct hit.
Yeah, yeah. I think creative liberties are fine, and I think that what we should try to do is judge creative things on their own specific merits, not on the world around them, and not on, like, the lore, and not on the, like, "But does this fit some rubric that I have in my head that it has to be this and it has to be that?" Because then, like, really quickly then, you end up in they can't have the girl from Chloe and Holly in, Little
Mhm.
Mermaid. Well, why the
Right,
fuck
right, right.
not? Why can't they?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So yeah, I'm all for, uh, creative license, and I think people who are really, like, rigid about the way they accept creative works are cheating themselves of a lot of joy because it's like, yeah, if you're gonna be so precious about it, then you're gonna be mad about everything. Now, the only
Right.
thing that I struggle with sometimes is, like, separating the art from the artist, right? So, like, um, like, I used to like Michael Jackson's music, and now I'm like, I don't listen to Michael
Mm.
Jackson. I used to like Diddy. I used to like his music. I really or, I did. Like, he's a catchy dude. But then you see the video and you're like, "Nope, I'm not listening to that guy anymore." And then just this past week, there was a tweet that Elon put out, and I already knew that Elon is a white supremacist, but he basically put it out there. He was like, America can't persist as a country with too much diversity. We need to have like an Anglo-Saxon, Scots-Irish identity, which is, white people. He said, we can't be a productive economy, and it's like, okay. So then if I owned a Tesla, I would have turned on the full self drive and driven it into the ocean after I was clear of it. To be clear, I'm not suicidal. But the point is, like, I think there's a point where you separate, where you go, the creative product, I can no longer just look at it as the creative product because the
Right.
person who made the creative product is so bad. But anyway, I yeah, creative license, I'm all here. I'm here for it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm also not precious about it. I'm also wondering if it's like I just currently can't think of something where it's like I read the book and then I went to see. Embarrassingly, yes, I can think of something. And
Okay.
you know what? I was fine with it. So I'm not rigid. Okay. It
What was it?
was
Do you wanna share?
no, it's Twilight.
Why? Come
The
on. I
Twilight
said
series.
edging.
Twilight series. I was
Oh, the
obsessed
Twilight
with
series.
Twilight.
Okay. Hey, that's normal. So was everybody. I mean, not me,
Well,
but
age group wise, probably not.
wow.
It's
Okay.
fine.
So
We're moving
was
on.
did you want me to no, you don't wanna talk about it.
No,
Okay.
I'm just saying it wasn't I think it was one of those things where people were like, "Well, that's not what happened in the Bible, blah, blah, blah." I
Right,
didn't
right, right,
care.
right.
It was entertaining. Like, I feel like that's more what I care about is, like, am I bored or not? If I'm not bored, then it's fine.
Yeah. I think I'm spared a lot of this because I don't read a lot of fiction. And so
Mhm.
I rarely am like, "Oh, I'm gonna watch this movie," but I already read the book and I'm gonna be mad about it. I'll tell you one thing that really pissed me off.
Really grind your gears.
Get off my lawn. My favorite TV show growing up, and, like, when I say growing up, but I also binge rewatched it during COVID, was Miami Vice. I loved that TV show for so many reasons. I thought the
Mm.
casting was spectacular. I thought the world building was just, like, cool. I thought the way the music was, like, so heavy-handed. Like, what they must have paid in licensing was insane, but I loved that show. I loved, loved, loved it. And then they made a movie out of it, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool," because they had Michael Mann, who was the producer of the TV show, producing the movie, and I was like, "It's gonna be great." And it just wasn't. It was like it wasn't quite
Mm.
like, there was a level of campiness that exists in the show that didn't really exist in the movie, and I had a vision in my head for the way they should have made the movie. Anyway,
Okay.
that's my experience with being a disappointed moviegoer. Had
Mm.
were you so you hadn't read Wuthering Heights,
No, I hadn't.
but did you go I'm sure that some of
I
the people
went
you went
yeah.
with
The
had.
bachelorette party, like, my friend that is the bride that's to be, it was her favorite book of all time, like, it
Got it.
changed the trajectory of her life type.
And
Loved
how
it.
did she feel about it?
She had, like, a strong reaction to it, but, like, I don't think she hated the movie. I think
Okay.
she was just she made a really pointed observation, which I think even as someone who didn't have expectations for it could see right through that. Like, she said it was a very surface level adaptation of the book, where the
Yep.
book itself was much more like, much deeper, much more ethereal, much more,
Yeah.
like, feeling than the movie, and I feel that that's, to your point, for marketing and scaling. I think
Sure.
they made the movie as deep as our high functioning society can take right now, and so you have, like, people, like, posting stuff on TikTok that's like, "Me before Wuthering Heights," and it's like a happy person, and then, like, "Me after Wuthering Heights," and it's like they're sobbing, and I'm like, "You need to go through some things."
Yes. Well, and there's 2 things in that, right? One is I feel like a book is always gonna have more nuance and depth
Mhm.
than a movie version of the book because you just have more space in a book. You got
Yeah.
I could make it infinite pages.
Mm.
And then there's the other thing about people reacting to stuff in this day and age in our high functioning society. It's so performative now. It's like you
Mhm.
can't just review a movie and be like, it wasn't great, but it was like now it's gotta be like, this is made it broke my heart. Oh like, man, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, oh my God, I loved it. It's like I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. You gotta be obsessed or you gotta hate everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now get off my lawn. What else we got?
Man.
Did you tell me you got new tattoos?
I did. I did
Mm,
get new tattoos. Actually, that's probably where I should have started. That's the first thing I did this weekend.
okay.
Like, first day off was Friday the 13th, so I don't know if you know this, but, like, a lot of tattoo shops will do, like, flash tattoos at,
Mm,
like, a lower price. I ended up picking flash tattoos, but got them customized to fit on my fingers.
standard.
Yeah, so I got love
Let me
and amor on my fingers, and it was inspired by the Bad Bunny message
sure.
from
He
the Super
said, I think
Bowl.
at the Super Bowl, a lot of people missed this, but he said, go get a tattoo this weekend.
Yeah, so I did as I was told by our Lord and Savior, Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny.
Um,
Uh, and do you love your tattoos? Like, what's your experience after you get a tattoo? Like, are you always like, "Ah, I wish it was a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, but like, yeah, tell me how
do
you
you
feel.
know I feel like I'm trying to think if there's ever been a I don't think I've ever spontaneously gotten a tattoo where it's just like one day I'm
Mhm.
just okay, maybe once I did that. Maybe once I did do that actually, and it was fine though. Okay, so I think of certain images that kind of just, like, stick with me all the time in the same way that I think about, like, quotes.
Sure.
But I've been wanting to get hand tattoos for a while. It's just that I wanna get a bunch of things on it, and I hadn't really figured out how I wanna map it out, so I just started with the fingers. But usually when I get a tattoo, I've probably thought about it for a while,
Yep.
and I'll usually, like, sketch it out myself first, and then I find, like, once I have the opportunity to get it, like, I'm really excited to do it, but it's almost as if once it's done I'm like, "This was always meant to be a part of, like, my
Mm,
body." Like,
interesting.
I
Yeah.
feel very like, "Okay, and now it's done." Like, now we
Mhm.
grew that part of me. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know, like, it's a limb, like, I don't even
Very
know how
interesting.
to describe that.
Yeah.
Um
Whenever I get a tattoo, like, I'm a very no regrets person on any
Mhm.
of my tattoos, but there's always this moment where the tattoo is almost finished and this thought flies through my head, which is like, when you walked into this place, you did not have this thing, and now
Mhm.
forever you will have this thing. Are you okay with that? And it's like my negative self-talk voice, you know?
Interesting.
And then I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." But yeah, that's interesting. I'm always interested to feel how people feel like right after they get the tattoo.
I think the only time that was ever, like, a question was your first tattoo in my
Mm,
mind. In my
mhm.
mind, I think that right before your first tattoo is when you really get in your head about, like, "Am I ready to commit to this being on my body for the rest of my life?"
Yeah,
But then I feel like once I did one and I experienced that and, like, you literally forget about it, like, you literally forget
totally.
it's there, it doesn't feel as big of a deal or commitment going
Totally.
forward after that.
100%. I agree.
Do you have any tats that are, like, meaningful to you?
So I'm like you in that, like, I spend a lot of time coming up with the tattoo I want to get, and I'll usually start with like the body part. Like for a long time, I wanted to get finger tattoos, and so like
Mhm.
it was like a fun thing to be like, what are two four-letter words that I could get so like it
Right,
reads almost as a sentence.
right.
And I was inspired once I was at this restaurant in Chicago, and there was it was like a very meat forward restaurant. It's called the Publican. And if you've ever been to O'Hare,
Interesting.
they have like a little outpost in O'Hare. It's really good. Anyway, so there was our server at the Publican was this incredibly cool looking woman who I assume was a chef or a butcher or something because the fingers on her hands said dead meat. And I was like, that's the coolest
Wow.
tattoo I've ever seen. So yeah, like the one that like is the most like literally meaningful to me is I have a tattoo on my shoulders that says get busy living or get busy dying, which is from
Mm.
Shawshank Redemption. I just thought it
Mhm.
was so profound and, like, universal, and it's like, yeah, like, that's your choice. But I also have, like, silly tattoos that's like, a lot of my tattoos are kind of like inside jokes with myself.
Mm.
And interestingly, going back to Miami Vice, my favorite animated GIF is the one where Don Johnson takes off his sunglasses and has another pair of sunglasses on. And so I have a tattoo of that on my arm, like with the sunglasses half off, but then he's still wearing sunglasses
Oh my
because it just makes me
gosh.
laugh every time I see it.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think that like they all, I'm not about like, oh, my tattoos are profound. Like, no, sometimes they're just funny.
Funny. Yeah, I don't trying to think if I have any just, like, whatever tattoos. Well, the first place I got a tattoo was called Whatever Tattoo, and they literally picked up the phone. Like, I would dial, and they'd be like, "Whatever." And I'm like,
I
"Hello?"
love it. I
Like,
love it.
"What?"
Where was
And
this place?
West 4th, of course, like, literally, and my tattoo artist's name was Bam Bam,
Of course.
and he
Yes.
was, like, the largest man you'd ever seen. I was 19, I think, the first time I got a tattoo.
Will you ever stop getting tattoos? Have you ever thought
I
about that?
don't think so. Like, I'm not someone who gets one, like, I'll go years without getting one. I'm
Same.
pretty intentional about getting
Yep.
the tattoos. And right now I'm just, like, hyper focused on getting my hands done, but for the longest time, like, first go around in corporate, I was very deliberate about placing them so that if I was standing up straight, you couldn't see any of them. Like, they were always inside my limbs.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like for the past 2 years or so, like, any tats I get, like, you can see them
Yep.
because it just doesn't feel like it's a thing anymore.
I got to a point in my career where I realized that the more tattoos and the stranger my haircut was, the more seriously people took me as a creative.
Right?
And
Yeah.
so I was like, "Oh, this is great. I could do whatever I want."
Yeah.
And now that
Yeah.
I'm going to school to be, an investment banker, it's, like, kinda limiting. I'm kidding, I'm not doing
No.
that. Why would I do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
no. Anyway, where even am I this weekend? Okay. So, Wuthering Heights, got tattoos.
Yep.
What else did I do? Speaking of old, because you said Shawshank, right?
Uh-huh.
And that was a quote from that movie.
Yes.
I also watched I believe that was in the '90s, right?
I think so. That
Shawshank
sounds
came out in
yeah,
the
yeah.
'90s?
Yeah, for sure.
Alright. So one of my favorite all-time movies is the 1998 version of Great Expectations with Gwyneth Paltrow and Ethan Hawke.
Okay.
It was directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who
Sure.
he did Gravity, and he did one of the Harry Potter movies. It's just one of those movies that, like, from childhood, I was literally probably, I don't know, a 3rd grader when I saw this movie.
Okay.
It stuck with me because, um, the detail in the cinematography was
Mhm.
amazing to me. Everything was green, and green's my favorite color, so
Okay.
but also what stuck out to me, I realize now, are, like, certain sound bites or quotes from the movie, and one of them is it's basically in the opening, Ethan Hawke says, "I'm not going to tell the story the way that it happened. I'm gonna tell you the way
Mm.
I remember it."
Mhm.
And then the second one is Rob De Niro, also pretty in the beginning of
Bobby
the
D.
movie. Yeah, Bobby D. He says, "People always say that the eyes are the windows to the soul." And he's like, "That's bullshit. It's your hands. That's
Mm.
the sign of a true gentleman." And I don't
Interesting.
know why that always stuck with me, like, but to this day, like, I always think to myself from a creative perspective, we're always telling stories the way we remember it, not
Mhm.
necessarily the way that it happened, and so
Yeah.
there's, like, this selective memory that goes on with creativity where,
Mhm.
like, storytelling is always going to be distorted,
Yeah.
and we don't necessarily tell facts, we tell
Right.
meaning,
Right.
right? We tell what it meant to us and why it was important to us. But
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, so you had that movie line from Shawshank that lives rent free in your head. Are there any
Yeah.
other lines like that that you can think of?
There's not lines. I think I tend to try to watch films as a, like, I wanna understand the whole of it. Like, what is it
Mm,
about? What are these characters about? How are they feeling? What happened? What was the conflict? How'd they get over like, so I kinda like that more than I focus in on individual lines. Now, there's movies with great individual lines. I just don't have a great memory for, like, lines of dialogue.
mhm.
Like, another one of my favorite movies is The Nice Guys with, Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, Like,
Oh, yeah.
you could tell me 100 lines from that movie that would put me on the floor laughing because I just think there's so many good lines in it, but I don't remember any of them off the top of my head.
Right, right,
Another
right.
another movie with incredible dialogue is, Clue, which I feel like is one of the most polarizing movies in the world, like, people either love it or they hate it.
Mhm.
Have you seen it?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh my god, it's so good. You would love it. I actually think you would love it.
I'm sure I would.
But there's, like, just so many quotable lines in it. However, what I wanna talk about is, like, this idea of we tell stories how we remember them as opposed to how they were,
Yeah.
and, like, I think that's so true because, like, whether it's, like, Rashomon or whether it's Sliding Doors, there's always movies that are like, what happens through one person's eyes is not what happened through the person standing across the street's eyes. And
Mhm.
it's not, what happened to, according to a person who remembered it like 10 years later. Like, okay, I'll give you a movie line I sort of halfway remember. Memento.
Yeah.
And Guy Pearce is scribbling on himself and doing all these tattoos because he can't remember things, so the way he remembers things is by tattooing himself, and he's talking about memory, and Joe Pantoliano goes, he's like, "Memory's no good." He's like, "Even cops know that." They're like, they know that, people think the guy was wearing brown shoes and he was wearing sneakers. People think the guy was wearing a hat and he didn't have any hair and he wasn't wearing anything on his head. Like, we have bad memories, and so,
Yeah.
like, the idea of and you kind of fit what you experienced into a narrative or a story that you tell yourself that helps you make sense of the world and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons that stories are so powerful is that they help us organize a bunch of chaos into a thing that we can kind of make sense of emotionally. I think a lot of it has to do with like, we want to feel as though we understand. We want to feel as though we're in control. We wanna feel as though we're the masters of our universes, and so in order to get that feeling, we invent stories. I mean, it's why religion exists, right?
Right. Yeah. I think most things boil down to what is that saying? People won't ever remember what you said to them, but they'll always remember how you
How
made
you
them
make them
feel.
feel. Right.
And I think that that's true for, like, anything that we consume, really. Like,
Well, and that
you can't remember the words of the lines from the movies that you love, but you know
right,
that you love them because they made you laugh or they made you
right,
feel a certain type of way.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
and then there's also the old truism or whatever that goes, like, "The winners write the history books," and that's true
Mhm.
too, and you could extrapolate that and say, like, if you're in a meeting with somebody and they're the CMO and they go, "Okay, well, we didn't do well last quarter because, we didn't have enough budget to stimulate demand for whatever it is we sell." Okay, well, that has become a fact in this meeting because we all work for you, CMO, we're all your agencies or we work for
Mm.
you. And because you said that the problem was we didn't create enough demand, we're going to spend a whole bunch of time and money trying to create demand. Is that really why they didn't sell enough cookies? I don't know. CFO might have a different viewpoint on that. CEO might have a different
Yeah.
viewpoint on that. So it's like you always have to think about like what's the story I'm being told and who is telling me the story and why are they telling me the story the way they're telling me the story?
Right. It's like context.
Texts, motives,
Personal
incentives.
context. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, I guess
This has been
the
a wonderful round robin of what we've both been up to for the past week.
I know. I mean, like, this is, I mean, tying it back to the beginning, the reason why taking time is so important is like
Mm.
the best thing you can do as a creative person is like live your life
100%.
to be like
100%.
inspired by it. Like, I went to Chinatown this weekend.
Nice.
Also, this is the last story I'm going to tell. I went to
Lunar New
Chinatown
Year?
this weekend. Yeah, because it's Lunar New Year. I was in Chinatown. Chinese New Year is literally the 17th. So everything was so festive. And I almost like forgot how nice it is to be down there during a
Mhm.
festive time. But me and my friends got our aura pictures taken.
Now, do you need a special camera to take a picture of your aura? Like, how does that tell me
Ye-
about this. Take me
So
inside the world of this.
it's a crystal shop. It's a crystal
Okay.
shop. In the back of the crystal shop, there's like a little chair and the camera is set up and there's these two like metal receptors for your hands.
Okay.
So that's really how it takes the picture of your aura is you
Yep.
place your hand on these metal receptors and then you have to hold for 10 seconds. And
Okay.
everyone's is always different. My two friends Their 2 were actually similar but different, like, similar in color but different in configuration. Mine's
Okay.
always pretty much the same. I have, like, a indigo blue, white aura
And,
with a
like,
little bit of
always, if you went to a different crystal shop, would it be
All 3
it's the
times I've
same?
gone all 3 times I've gone, it's been the same, like, majority color and, like,
And is that
configuration.
standard, or are you an outlier in that?
I don't know. I don't know because I don't know that many other people who've done it.
Okay.
But I do know one other friend, similar thing where it's like her picture always is composed of the same, like, 2 or 3 colors.
Yeah. I feel like that would be reassuring. You'd be like, "Yeah, my aura should be pretty consistent."
Yeah,
And I
but
don't know anything about auras, but
I would love to know what your aura is. But I feel like the reason why I even bring this up is because, I thought about all the stuff that we do for New Year's, and I mean, traditional New Year's at the beginning of the calendar year, but I obviously also subscribe to Lunar New Year 'cause all
yeah.
the woo-woo stuff, but yeah, cleaning, wearing red, all of these, like,
Mhm.
ritualistic things to me are inherently creative, and I don't
Mhm.
think we really traditionally see that as, like, a creative aspect of ourselves, but, like, each culture has, like, a ritual as a form of creativity to me.
Mm, mhm.
And I don't know, like, do you agree with that? Like, do you feel like we're kind of wired for symbolic resets, like, similar to the conversation about rest? Like
I think that rituals and creativity intersect in lots of ways, like, sometimes creative outputs are become parts of rituals, like, you think about dance and song.
yeah.
I I am lucky. So my wife's mother is Taiwanese,
Oh, wow.
and so that means that, like, a big chunk of her family is Taiwanese. And so, like, we do Lunar New Year stuff, and I'm not trying to say like, "Hey, I'm an honorary Chinese or
Yeah.
Taiwanese person," but, like, I've made dumplings, I've played mahjong, and as a person who is so, like, bereft of any cultural like, I've never been like, "I'm Irish and it's so great," and, like, no, I never cared about that, but, like, the fact that I can participate in this
Mm,
culture, that there is so much richness and depth, and you know what it is, like, more than anything? It's connection. It's like
yeah.
to, like, stand in a kitchen and make dumplings with people who you, like, legitimately love and have a great time and, like, tell stories and do jokes, and it's like it's nice. It's like a center of gravity for human connection, and I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I was just like, I don't know, it just looked pretty this time of year, and
Yeah.
just I don't know, something about that reminded me, like what you're saying, connection.
I think it's also, like, why, like, around Christmas time when you walk around a city and you see, like, the Christmas trees and the decorations. I feel like what it does is it just communicates to you that, like, you're not alone and there's a whole bunch of other people who are kind of, like, sharing the same experience with you, even though it might be in radically different ways. It just makes you feel
Yeah.
connected. And
Yeah.
and that's important. That's really important.
That's always the goal. And thank you so much for connecting with me today.
My pleasure. That was a really good land the plane, by the way. I like that.
Yeah. Look at us.
This has been super fun. Um, and thanks as always to our listeners for listening.
Make that plural.
Yes. And if you would like to have us show up at your company like I did in Chicago this week, feel free to reach out and don't forget to subscribe to the Creative Bias Podcast.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, y'all. I'm going to play our music and play us out.
Bye.